Let's talk about the stuff that you've done as far as charity work and volunteering and helping others. I mean, you had mentioned your wrestling school that you ran for a while. Let's start with that. What made you decide you want to run your own school and just how
Well,
you've been able to give back to people over the years?
well, what happened was a friend of mine, Dan Brown, ran a production company out of Atlantic City. I was running the Tropicana Health Club and also ran shows there. And he and I became very good friends. He taped a couple of my shows, videotaped. And then he said to me, I got this building in Egg Harbor City. Why don't you put a wrestling school in there? Because he knew my ambitions. And the biggest thing back then was, you know, getting a building that you could afford. So he said, listen, I don't want anything. You set yourself up in there. If you're going to do anything, let me videotape it. That's great. Started Force One. Force One ran for 7 years, man. 2007 to 2014. And then we went from, we sold it. Well, we stopped running the school. The problem I ran into, I was running the school and running the promotion. And really, the school was paying for everything. And I had a bunch of guys. We had two rings going in Ocean in Egg Harbor City, New Jersey. It was awesome. We used to tape vignettes outside the building. We went up into the cemetery that was close by, taped some stuff, and it was great. It was great, and everybody used to come down. We had Balls Mahoney was down there. Superfly Jimmy Snuka was down there. Chris Candido and his brother Johnny Equalizer, you name it, over the years. And that was the hard part because I think the promotion it's like a money pit because there's. But I did do this. Came up with things that nobody had done before. The two-sided vinyl lawn signs, pro wrestling. Nobody did that. And I started putting them up on the circles and and tie wrapping them to signs so they wouldn't get taken down so easily, and replenishing them when I would go by and they were down. Or maybe the landscapers came, they cut the tie wraps so they could weed whack around the signs. You got to put them back up. They're $8 a piece. You're tending them. You're like they're your children. I did things like walk in and out of mom and pop business and pre-sell tickets on the premise that they were you could be used for uh, marketing purposes. First 100 person, 10th person in the store today gets two tickets. So they'll give you money up front. And then it does two things. It gets people in the building and it gets me some seed money in the beginning to get the posters and buy more and get the tickets done, get the chairs, the rental, whatever, the ring rental. So, we did that for a bunch of years. I started in 2000 with Outlaws Wrestling. Then we went for 2 years. And then in 2007, we opened Force One Pro Wrestling. We rocked the Eastern Seaboard indie scene. We were the place to go and the place to be. Um, then we morphed into Coastal and we ran a couple different buildings regularly. And then I pulled out in I think it's probably 2014. But you can go on YouTube and look up Force One Pro Wrestling, look up Coastal Pro Wrestling, and you'll see, all our stuff. That's all our stuff. Um, so I mean, I've done it all, man. I've been out putting. Listen, I raised $1,000 in sponsorship money with a walker after I had hip surgery, going up and down the sides of highways and putting friggin' signs out. So
Yeah, I mean
I know what
you've
you got to
y-
get out there.
yeah, you do. And you've earlier we were talking about, you've helped so many people over the years outside of the business as well. Let's talk about that. What
Oh,
made
real
you,
quick, what I want to tell you is the whole time we had the building with the school and we were running shows, we must have had 30 local kids come through there that did everything from sweep the floor, We got them in the ring and let them move around and fool around a little bit. They were kids that were lost in the neighborhood. That while we were there, we were a safe haven. I would have 8, 10 kids hanging out, you know, and it was great. I loved it. Like my little kids, and even to this day, people are so appreciative. And I feel bad a lot of times. I don't remember everybody because there was so many people that were affiliated with us while we did that. And our hearts were always with the kids. You know what we took? We took the overlooked, the underrated, the overlooked, people that for stupid reasons in indie wrestling couldn't get work because they were good. And they made the other guys who were friends of the promoter, all these morks that are trying to run schools and run wrestling. And they're very good. They just never were put in the right spot. We made all those kids shine. Took White Lotus, made him our junior heavyweight champion. Another guy who was Brian Pillman's cousin, James Pillman. There were our 2 trainers. Both of them were trained by Les Morgan, who is Heidi Lee Morgan was a pro wrestler, a female, very prominent in the 80s. That's her father that trained them. And he trained guys for Vince's father back in the
Wow.
60s.
Wow.
So the lineage, and that's what I tell anybody that trained under me. When you go out there to work, already what's right. Okay. Because you were trained by us. So now that you got cell phones, it's so easy. If you go to a show and you think that they want you to do something that you're not sure you should do, you should know because you were trained properly, but pick up a phone and call somebody. And then you go to the promoter. And this is what I always tell these guys. The promoter's asking you to do something that either makes no sense or is not professional or whatever. And the promoter says, well, people say, well, you got to listen to the promoter. No, if the promoter's a complete idiot, why would you listen to him? That's when promoters were really promoters. We were always about the kids, always about the kids. So does that bring us maybe up to the present, if you want to do that? So I always have people that I'm kind of mentoring, being only slightly removed from my own issues. You would say, well, just a couple of years ago, he was doing this. Why are you going to listen to him? That's why you're going to listen to me. Because what I was doing, people don't get out of and get away from. I did. Okay. And I didn't do it. I kicked the sheets. Okay. And if you don't do that, I think like the thing with addiction, and I worked in the prison system as a counselor. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I believe take a heroin addict. 6 years he's clean. Right. That means there's nothing in his system that is making him want to. It's coming out of his system, and to feel good, he's got to do it again. It's been out of his system, and then one day he decides to go do heroin. Oh, it's the disease of addiction. No, you had a choice and you made it. That's the reality of it. That's why I can help people now because I'm so only 2 years removed. But you have to look at what I'm 2 years removed from. At an age of 66, one-legged, heart, this, that, bang, boom, and I'm still here. So yeah, listen, if you go to the prison system and you say, there's a drug addict or a drug dealer, whatever, Mr. Cairo has been through the program. It could be your counselor, or we have little Miss Jane here that went through to college and got a degree, never took a drug in her life. Who do you think they're going to want to talk to? To say to the girl, what are you going to tell me? Oh, don't do it. How do you know not to do it? Did you ever have that shit in your system? Do you know how hard it is? The books don't tell you that. Okay, I'm not listening to I'm going to listen to get me somebody that I can relate to that's done it. Now, I have 2 friends in my circle, one from the business, one not. They're my ride or die, both of them. They're still tied up. And I get offered, even though they know that that's not the right thing to do. They do it anyway because they know I'm a man. And I think they want to test to see, is he still doing the right thing? Yeah, I am. So now you have an example. You can say, look, he ran with us. He ain't running with us no more. I could do that. Maybe I could do it. If he did it, I should be able to do it. Or if not, let me ask him. Let me confide in him. Let him tell me I'm full of shit so I could get on with it and get help and get better.